Let's get into the advisory now and a look at why holding on to vested employer shares could be one of the riskiest investment decisions you can make. Andrew Grinsell from Cooee Wealth joining me. And Andrew, I read your notes and got a little worried because I have some from a previous employer that I've never sold. What am I doing wrong?
So we see a lot of remuneration packages now where bonuses are paid in a mixture of cash but also shares that are granted to the employees. Now, what that ends up doing is linking both your investments and your remuneration to the same entity, which creates a lot of additional risk because we do end up in situations where if a company goes through a bit of a rough patch, sometimes the bonuses stop getting paid, share price takes a hit at the same time. So it's really sort of tying up income and assets in the same business and the success of that business, which adds an extra layer of risk. Also, sometimes the amount of shares that people end up building up in a single company can be quite substantial, and it's something that you probably wouldn't go and do if you actually had a pot of cash to start with and went out to build a portfolio. You probably wouldn't go and put so much in there. I mean, we're starting to see instances of people where they've got $500 to $1 million worth of stock that they've accumulated through their employee share plans with just no diversification in that.
So what should you be doing here? Do you sell them as soon as you vest?
So what happens is when they vest, that's the point at which it becomes taxable income in most cases. So even if you hold on to them or if you sell them, the tax implications are the same if it's sold within that sort of 30-day period. So it gives everybody an opportunity to sort of sit back and go, okay, well, do I want to hold the stock or should I be disposing of the shares and taking the cash to do something else with it? Now, if the shares aren't sold at that point in time, it can create a bit of a risk because when the tax bill comes along, it might be 12, 18 months later, if the share price has taken a hit and you've got to sell the shares to pay the tax, then that can create a challenge. So what we tend to do with a lot of our clients is suggest that they sell the shares when they do vest, and if they've got a home loan, look at paying down the home loan, then maybe redraw via an investment loan which has tax deductible interest and go back and build a more diversified portfolio. For the people who don't have a home loan, we tend to look at diversification and investing outside of super, or for some other people, it might actually be more effective if they're approaching retirement to start making some extra contributions to super with those funds and get that invested in a tax-effective environment.
So what does history tell us about when we've seen big share price drops as well for what kind of risk people could be holding here?
Yeah, so I mean, there's quite a number of companies that have taken big hits over recent years where people may not have expected it. So like Intel is down 51% over the last 5 years. There's other examples of that where people have sort of ended up holding onto the stock, then the tax bill comes, the stock price is halved, so effectively you've almost got to sell the entire holding just to cover the tax bill and not left with anything, which can be quite disastrous for clients.
Now, you mentioned as well having the risk of your salary, your bonus, your job security and your portfolio tied to the, I mean, they call this the golden handcuff, right? Or handcuffs. Is this then sometimes often in the company's best interest rather than the employee? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it has the employees locked in for a longer period of time. It has them thinking more around sort of medium to longer term company success rather than just looking for that next bonus payment. So definitely it has its benefits for the company. When we're advising the individual though, we've got to look at what's in the best interest for them and the risks that they're taking and whether or not that's in line with them achieving their goals.
And if they wanted to stay invested, I mean, you mentioned a couple of opportunities here, but can it just be then selling some of these vested shares of the company they work for and buying into maybe another completely different industry? Yeah,
absolutely. We definitely recommend diversification. Got to set aside a little bit of money to pay that tax from that vesting event, but once that's done, definitely we would recommend that people start to diversify how they're invested. There's also, I think, a lot of bias in that people believe that the company they work for is onto a great thing, and sometimes they are, but it results in a situation where you can have quite a severe overexposure to a single company that you just simply wouldn't do if you started off with that money in cash and were looking to go and build a portfolio.
And it's often something that you can't really discuss, right? Like you can't talk in your office about wanting to sell the company's shares. More broadly, we touched on superannuation there. What's happening with Division 296? Anything? Has it just gone quiet?
I haven't heard any changes. It looks like it's all sort of still moving along, but no, sort of same as we discussed last time.
Yeah, okay. And when it comes to, I guess, some of those better ways of looking at your super, what are you suggesting?
So, firstly, we don't want people making knee-jerk reactions. We end up in a situation where some people are looking to sell investments, take money out of super, when they're nowhere near having a Division 296 problem for the foreseeable future. So we sort of suggest to a lot of people that, you know, just take a step back and have a look and see, is Division 296 actually going to be a problem for you? If it is, have a look at what the alternatives are. Sometimes, you know, the alternatives might be take a bit of money out of super, invest it personally. We've got tax-free thresholds. It might be a case of using things like investment bonds, which are quite tax effective. But really the key message I think is that people have just got to be careful not to be making a reaction to something that might not actually impact them anyway.